Hey, welcome back to Evil's Comics. I'm Evil Mike, and I got a review for you today. We're going to be talking about DC Comics Gotham City, Year 1, Issue number 3. Written by Tom King, pencils by Phil Hester, inks by Eric Gapstur, colors by Jordie Bellaire, and letters by Clayton Cowles. To catch you up, this is kind of like a kidnapping kind of story, a private eye kidnapping. We are following our main character, Slam Bradley. This is set in like the 1950s in Gotham City, and we are dealing with Richard Bruce Wayne and Constance Wayne. Recently their daughter has been kidnapped, Helena Wayne. Originally Sue, someone we don't know about, basically came to Slam Bradley and used him as a mediator to go back and forth with the Waynes. At this point, they have already gotten to the point where they dropped off the money, and it looks like it was a sham all along. The lady ended up taking the money, and she did this like Catwoman thing and took off and disappeared. At the very end of the book, Richard Wayne did not take so nicely to the outcome and started to attack Slam. Slam basically had to knock him out, and that's where the book left us at. We start off with a flashback, and it's basically this cop, and he has a witness, and he's asking him a question. He's telling him that he has this magical gun that knows when someone's telling him the truth or lying, and basically he says when they're telling the truth, the gun doesn't shoot, and if they're lying, it does shoot. After he says that, the gun goes off. The officer quickly starts cursing, and he goes off like, "Who loaded my damn gun?" and blah blah blah. Oh, I guess that's why you need to check. He also states that the guy must have been lying. That's why the gun went off. It was not supposed to go off. With the witness screaming in pain and everything, and the other cops trying to shoot him up, shut him up because they're in an interrogation room at Gotham City Police Department, and they're not trying to let the other cops know that the gun just went off. So he ends up knocking out the witness. As this is going on, we see this one panel right here, and this one guy is saying, "What are you doing, Slam?" After that, Slam just goes nuts. He has had enough. He has seen too much. At this time, we find out it's a flashback from Slam, but he's also telling a story at this point. You find out later on in the book who he's talking to. But basically, it's the moment when, Slam finally had enough working as a detective, and he had seen too many bad things, and he just goes to Slam Town on everybody in the police department. I can say hands down the use of blood, the white and red in this flashback is amazing, and it took a second to figure out who Slam was, but Slam's always in white. But eventually we catch up to real world stuff, and we see that the chief security, and I'm drawing a blank at his name, that works for the Waynes, was there that day that Slam went nuts, and he's there again when Slam is dropping off Richard and Bruce Wayne at Wayne Manor after he knocked him out. At this point, Slam basically tells his chief security guy, "Hey, this is what happened, this is how it went down. I'm going home, I'm getting a shower and going to sleep, and the cops can come get me in the morning," which he thinks the cops are going to assume, he thinks the Waynes are basically going to call the cops, and they think that Slam is the kidnapper. He does just that, goes home, tries to go to sleep, and all he can think about is Helena Wayne. He tries to take a couple shots and then go to bed, and they show this dope picture right here of him kind of drifting away. And as he finally does get to sleep, when he starts dreaming, he's dreaming about Helena Wayne. Next morning, he does what he told the security officer. He opens his place of business up early and expects the cops to come. He gets a knock on the door, but lo and behold, he's surprised it's Constant Wayne, not the cops. At this point in the book, a lot happens between this conversation with Constance and Slam Bradley. Basically, she comes back, stating that they were wrong for accusing him of being part of the kidnappers and stuff like that. They knew kind of all along that Slam was a good guy, that he wasn't a part of that, but they still had to make sure, kind of thing. She mentions that Richard Bruce Wayne is still kind of in the same state that he was at the cemetery, still expecting the kidnappers to come through with Elaine now that they have the money. At this point, she tells Bradley that she doesn't believe so, and because of the outcome, she is kind of determined that Helena Wayne at this point is deceased, that that this is some kind of ruse, that somehow or other that her daughter is dead. She also mentions that she has mother's intuition about the whole situation. So at this point, she drops a whole buttload of cash on Slam Bradley's desk and basically wants to hire him, but not to, bring the kidnapper or murderer to justice. She wants, Slam Bradley to deliver some vengeance and basically kill him. At this point, she walks out of the room, and Slam basically has some thinking to do. He's sitting there staring at the money, he hasn't touched it, and he basically states, that through all this and the whole conversation, he would have done it for free. They showed us what he's thinking of and dreaming of. He's thinking of Helena Wayne. So at this point, and the book gets dope at this point, Slam he does what he does best. He starts, detecting. He follows the one clue that he's got. His assistant, Johnny Boy, end up getting murdered following Sue, and that's where he starts his, investigation. It does lead him to one, kind of like a dead end. He ends up going to this hotel and realizing it's not really getting him anywhere. But he thinks back to when Sue did what she did on the rooftop with her whole acrobatical thing, and he starts realizing that it wasn't a one and done thing, that she had it all like practiced and rigged out. He starts tracking down the buildings and locations because she would have roof access, and finds one place in particular where she might have been at. He goes to this one speakeasy and ends up talking to this lady right here, who operates a lady of the night type of situation, and she's kind of the CEO and owner, basically set up as like a maid cleaning service or something like that. He does get a name from this lady after shelling out buttloads of money to her, and we find out her name is Olivia, I think, and kind of where her last locations were. Brad ends up, I keep calling her Brad, Slam Bradley ends up like tracking down several different nightclubs and speakeasies, and notice they are all like, cat related. But eventually he does find one speakeasy where that everything fits the descriptions of the lady that worked there, and she was kind of ballerina-ish. She was smart but quiet, those kind of things. And he does end up talking to an owner and basically a band, and they reveal that her name was like her name was Queenie, not Olivia, but Queenie Lindell is what he finds out from this place. Eventually, after getting her name, he goes to this lady, Madam Shirley. Now, for those of y'all that know Slam Bradley, and this might be something that y'all know more about, but it's a fortune teller named Madam Shirley. He goes to, and I think that's what, Shirley, Madam Shirley. He goes and asks for an address and is quickly reprimanded because we quickly find out that this is his mom. We don't know. I don't know if this is his mother or if that's just a tagline. But the conversation and the way it goes, you kind of get the sense that it's a mother and father kind of situation. Maybe an adopted mother. I don't know. But from this, we basically find out that she is like the go-to if you want to track down somebody or find somebody. She has some kind of ways, and they don't reveal whether it's like the fortune teller side of it or she just has a whole lot of connects around Gotham City. She gives the name and basically says that she's in, he's in a rush. And he does get a location at like 3 in the morning. He goes to the location of this James Liddell that supposedly has had a niece over recently. Slam ends up banging on the door for hours, trying to get this guy to, not for hours, but a long time, trying to get this guy to open the door because it is late at night. The guy does open the door in very, disgust, and he's pretty mad because Slam's banging on his door in all hours and stuff. Maybe with the banging of the door or the guy raising his voice, but Slam actually hears something in the background. It's a baby. Slam states that at this point he had like a whole plan if Sue would answer the door or if James would answer the door, how it was going to go down. But hearing the baby, Slam does what he does and he slams down the door. He kind of runs past James, not realizing that James has a gun, starts firing. Slam has to redirect and kind of barrels down the staircase and ends up taking out James, so he can run back up the stairs and find, because that's where the baby was crying from. Slam heads up the stairs to find out that this boy is crazy. He just broke into a house that has nothing to do with what he's doing. The baby is not Helena Wayne. It's this guy's James, maybe daughter or niece. We don't know. Slam starts freaking out. He's about to, he's starting to hop out the window because he's realized he's broken into this random person's house, beat him up, end up, looks like he's about to kidnap the guy's daughter. And as he's climbing out the window, he notices a fresh patch of soil on the ground, as you can see right here, and a shovel that's nearby. Slam is like, nah, this is too coincidental. He ends up going outside, digging up the fresh patch of soil, and be warned, to find the remains of Helena Wayne. Now they do not show anything as far as but we do see a blanket and picture of an owl. An owl symbolizes Helena Wayne. It has throughout the whole comic, but basically right there it said that a mother knows, that Constance Wayne was right about her daughter. Now, like I said, they didn't show us any remains or anything like this. The very last page of the book is we find out who basically Slam was telling that flashback to, and it was Richard Bruce Wayne. And he was basically telling the story and how it connects, because it was that one moment that he finally had enough and took enough, and he wasn't going to pay the price that they were asking, and that's what made him flip out. And guess what? It's happened again. And that's where this book leaves us off. My final thoughts is, man, this book is getting good. I'm loving this book. It's kind of funny because at first I was on the fence. Where it fits into the timeline and stuff like that, but now we're getting to this nitty-gritty private eye detective stuff, and people complain about superheroes being, here we go, a book with no superheroes, no supervillains. Technically Catwoman might be in it, but it's not Catwoman. It might be her mother or something like that. Hey, but that's my review. Let me know what you think about this book. I'm loving it. I love the art style. I love the art, the flow. Oh my god, I love this book. But let me know what you're thinking about it, especially if you're reading it. If not, what do you think about the review and how is it going? Hey, but that's what I got for you. That's basically it. I'll see y'all later. All right. Bye.